Hello, everybody. Good evening, and you're very welcome to the live stream for this interview with Joe Neville. This is the second in our series of interviews of candidates running in North Kildare for the general election 2024. Most people probably know me. My name is Trasa. I'm joined this evening by Councillor Joe Neville. Joe is a Kildare County Councillor for the Leixlip LEA. I think I'm right in saying he topped the poll, certainly did very well in the locals. He is the current Cathaoirleach of Kildare County Council. And he has focused on many things to do with the local area. He's one of those councillors who doesn't mind rolling up his sleeves on Selbridge issues. And I know that because in the previous term, we didn't have a Fine Gael rep within the Selbridge LEA, and yet Joe and I spoke very often on things. So he has been focused, amongst other things, on KCC spending and issues with Irish Water, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'll bring Joe on screen and let him say hello. Before I just do that, just want to say Rita is with us in the comments. So if you're watching live, and I see the audience is starting to tick up, which is great, say hello, hit that like button, just let me know you're here, and get ready as we're speaking. If you have any questions you want me to put to Joe, pop them in the comments and I'll get to one or two of those at the end. So with that, welcome, Joe. How are you?
Hi Tressa, how are you? And
Good, thanks
how's all
very
the
much.
listeners? What's the crack? No, and just Rita in the comments could be my mom. My mom's Rita. In fairness, normally
Oh,
she. I couldn't. I'm only joking. I couldn't imagine it's her, but my mom is Rita. But
we,
do go easy in the comments just in case my parents are watching.
okay, we'll keep it PG. Rita Sexton is with us. She's our co-moderator for these events.
I'm just joking.
Joe, will you give us an overview? A lot of people are really only tuning in to make their election decisions
Yeah.
now. And I know that you are a familiar face in Selbridge and Leixlip and North Kildare generally, particularly elevated by your role as Cathaoirleach. But just to introduce yourself and give us an idea, a flavour of your campaign at the moment, and then we'll do some questions and see where we go from there. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, look, I suppose I grew up in Leixlip. I'm one of those people. My parents came from the west of Ireland. I suppose, like a lot of people listening here, from the area who grew up in the area. My dad is from the southwest of Ireland, from Limerick. My mother from Roscommon. So they came garden and nurse, married, settled down, and I was one of five. So I grew up in the area, very familiar with the area. Went to school locally, and I suppose loved the area too, and that's why I stayed in it. I think it's a great place. Leixlip and Salvage, indeed North Kildare. I think they're great places to live and to have a family. And I suppose, look, you're close to so many amenities. You're close to the city centre. You're close to the work opportunities. You're close to the college opportunities. So I suppose I never really saw a reason to leave, and I've really enjoyed it. Growing up here as a kid, it was brilliant. So many teenagers and leagues that we all had so much fun together. And now I suppose I wanted to give my children a similar experience. And now I'm married with three children. My wife, I brought her out here from Dublin. Um, and look, she's happy now, but I think she shed a tear having to come out to Leaks up on the day. But at the same time, she's happy now and settled. And look, we have a nice life in Leaks up. Leaks up's a lovely place, and I was so I went to UCD. I did commerce in UCD, and I became an accountant. And I'm a qualified chartered accountant, and I work locally. But obviously, I was involved in many different things. And then I was asked to run for the council in 2009, and I got elected to Leaks of Town Council. And then 2014, I got 800 votes, and I was elected to the county council. And then topped the poll in 2019 with 1,600 votes. And then the last election got 2,300 votes, which topped the poll again. So I suppose my numbers keep increasing in the local election level, and I'd like to think that's a reflection of the work that I'm doing. And I think maybe and what people think. And I suppose Fine Gael then asked me to run for a general election. So here I am sitting here, person from the area who grew up in the area, and I suppose loves the area, but also knows the challenges and of the area too, and what we need. I would say is that in my time now, Leixlip, funny enough, had the largest population of any town in North there when I was a teenager. So Leixlip was actually had population of 15,000. Population hasn't really grown extensively, actually. It's only maybe 17, 18,000. Because what's happened is all those kids and the teenagers that I grew up and moved out, and their parents might be still there. So even though we've expanded, adding new estates in the likes of Glen Easton and Westfield and Rinnowade, the population hasn't majorly shifted. Whereas Selbridge, Kilcock, Maynooth have expanded rapidly in those last 20 years. So in a way, while Leixlip now has gone from being the first to the fourth, Selbridge has gone from being maybe the fifth or sixth to the second, to the third largest town. after actually maybe Newbridge is third and Selbridge is second. But then, and obviously Maynooth has caught up as well. And Kilcock has, I was looking at it the other day, Kilcock's population in 2002 was 2,781. It's now 8,000. So the point is that I've seen the areas around me, and obviously a lot of those issues that we had in Leixlip when we were growing up, the lack of the infrastructure, the lack of the train line. The train line wasn't really good in Leixlip till 2000, till 24 years ago. Not bad. Kilcock obviously still need that train line to be upgraded to the level that Leixlip was. Our buses were pretty good, but at the same time they weren't good. They weren't good enough. And I would say Selbridge, as you've seen, Tressa, Selbridge's buses have increased and have improved in the last 2 years, 3 years, but it's still not good enough.
Mhm.
Kilcock have been left behind. Clane, I would say, have all those issues. The school places, it's a common issue. The lack of school places in Selbridge, Leixlip, and I'm Leixlip, Maynooth, Kilcock, Clane. So I suppose what's been really interesting to me, obviously being so familiar with the Leixlip Selbridge, is that I can see knocking on doors in Kilcock. Not that I would have known, I suppose, anyway, because when you see the population growth in an area, you know that services are going to be challenged, infrastructure is going to be challenged. But I've seen those. So I suppose what I want to do, if elected to the Dáil, is to push for vast improvements in investment in our area. And because I do think our infrastructure and services have fallen behind
They have.
with the population increase. And I think for me, that's been a kind of a key focus for me.
It has. I've seen that in the representations you've made at Kildare County Council, and it leads us nicely onto my first question, Joe. You have seen firsthand the impact or lack thereof of local government on social infrastructure and the deficiencies we face in North Kildare. Now, you've just recapped. You're fully aware of all of that. I know you are. So I suppose that part's an easy part of the question.
Yeah.
But why are Kildare County Council so slow to address these deficiencies, and what can be done to sort out real delivery? I mean, anybody could have seen 15, 20 years ago that there was going to be a population explosion. It was going to be concentrated on the periphery of Dublin. North Kildare is, I suppose, ground zero, and you can see it a mile off. And we can also see what's going to happen in the next 20 years, as well, which is that the towns will continue to creak under the strain of not having a social infrastructure, and it will lead to more and more discontent. And I just think that someone really needs to answer for, and not you personally, maybe, but Fine Gael has been in government a long time, to answer for the lack of actual delivery. I read a comment within the group today from a contributor, and I can't remember the name, so I'm sorry if you're watching and I'm not giving you proper credit. I just don't remember the name. Someone said that, they haven't done a single thing. It's the same promises over and over. And here we go again. And that houses can just pop up extremely quickly. Because the incentives are there for housing, or they have been there for housing, whatever the situation is today. But there's no incentive, there's no financial incentive for playgrounds, GP services, creches, all of the rest of that. So talk to me a little bit about, if you had all the power in the world, what would you do to sort out the issue of real delivery by our local authority? Because you're in a very unique position of being able to speak to that.
Yeah, look, I to be honest, there's so many different answers, there's so many questions within what you said. It's almost I need a multifaceted answer to go through to
Sorry.
go through. But and then I do want to answer the questions directly. So I suppose the first element of it, and you spoke to it, was about my own experience of highlighting the inadequate spending by Kildare County Council in the highly populated, densely populated areas of North East Kildare, right? So and I suppose I was using my skill set as an accountant. I was on the finance committee and I stripped out all the numbers of everything that was spent in Leixlip and Selbridge and all the other MDs across each other, and I put them against the population. You remember me sharing that, and then sharing it, because anecdotally I'd always heard this, and I was part of it. Sure, Leixlip doesn't get anything, Selbridge doesn't get, Leixlip and Selbridge doesn't get as much as other places, right? Or even Maynooth, and Kilcock. So I was keen to actually kind of go behind the anecdotal talk and actually strip out the information, which I did. So I was able to prove and to verify, and you saw it yourself in the
I
numbers,
did.
spend from 2017 to 2021. And then because we didn't have information before that, but because I suppose I was happy that I was comfortable that we had to crash before that. So there would have been no spending in the numbers previous to that anyway. So we had a good starting point, and I was able to show from 2017 to 2021, layer on 22 numbers, layer on 23 numbers, that indeed Leixlip and Selbridge hadn't had the infrastructure, hadn't had this community spend from Kildare County Council. Now, I would say I really heavily highlighted that, and I think there was a good push. And in fairness, the other councillors as well got on board with it, and I think we have seen some improvement now. Not full and final, I would say, but I'm suppose I'm speaking to myself because the way I'll deal with the answer is that we have seen the proof in the pudding to a degree. Dunnacumper was bought by Kildare County Council. The parochial house is being bought. Now, I'm not saying I'm responsible for either. I'm not trying to claim anything. But what I'm trying to say is that Kildare County Council now have invested in the last year and a half, and they're looking, there's an issue with the parochial house, with the legals. It's like, but at the same time, it's going to be bought, right? So they have invested now in a way that never happened before. Like there's nothing else has been done like that, and that's happened. I know in Leakslip we're working towards, and we have 8 million I see today, and I know we have it in the swimming pool for Leakslip as well. It's in the Leakslip swimming pool. It's been broken out. There's money for a minute swimming pool to go to the university, but there's 8 million being set aside for a swimming pool in Leakslip. That's a step change in the delivery of services by Kildare County Council. And I would say it's because of the work that I have done highlighting, and indeed then voiced with others, and even people like yourself as well. You've been strongly highlighting the same issue. So I think that's important that that I was able to highlight, and now obviously push for it to be delivered. So that's just my talk to myself. Now, with the other issue, I would say absolutely. Fine Gael have been a government. You said about Fine Gael, the same old, same old. I have no issue with that, because I do feel like you do that we haven't had the investment. I would say is that and once again, it's a multifaceted part of it. You spoke about the social infrastructure, but the social infrastructure and the physical infrastructure are buried under the weight of the population in Northeast Kildare. And you can talk about housing, and once again, I don't want to jump around too much, but we do need housing. And I have no problem with housing going into North Kildare, but you cannot put the infrastructure sitting on place, or the population sitting on place in infrastructure that was built in the 1940s or 1930s, or indeed in the 1800s when it comes to our bridge in Salbridge. We have, even if you look, and a lot of people commenting on, a lot of people, sorry, who are aware in Salbridge, where the water pipes keep bursting. We've talked about that before. Obviously, when the main water pipe is going to be replaced in 2020 Q4 2025. That's the plan. Where I was on a call today with Irish Water, but the point is that hadn't been done. Do you know what year that pipe was put in?
No,
That's
like a big.
scary. 1945.
I was I was going to take a guess, and it wasn't as bad as that.
Is that pipe in Salbridge that is causing the problems was put in 1945. The population of Salbridge, and I should have checked it up on Wikipedia, was probably 700 or 800 people. Maybe just less than 1,000. The population of Salbridge is now over 23,000. So is it any surprise that we're having bursts in a water pipe that was put down in 1945? No, it's not. But the population has increased 20, whatever, an incalculable number of times.
Well, that's what I watched a presentation made at the Public Accounts Committee by Ishka Aaron, and they said that even if they fix certain pipes, that in turn will reduce leaks, increase pressure along the pipe, but it could also have knock-on effects of causing leaks elsewhere. And so it's not just a case of fixing a pipe, one particular pipe. It's a case of strengthening the entire network from source to destination along a route, because you could stop the instances of leaks happening along that one pipe and stop the bursts and the outages caused by that one pipe. But you will cause, there'll be kind of collateral damage elsewhere, or I suppose pressure increases elsewhere. So it just doesn't look good from Ishka Aaron point of view. And
but I would say on the pipe that they have tried to, and look, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole talking about water pipes, but it's amazing what you get to know and learn as a councillor. Is that they have actually tried to alleviate some of the issues with the Hazel Hatch pipe, because they have changed the pressure on and tried to even the pressure flow of the water. And I would say, and just for people listening, there was 3 bursts the last while in Hazel Hatch, and 2 of them were actually caused by, I found out today on the call with Irish Water, is that 2 of them were caused by actual damage caused by construction. So it actually wasn't bursts of that, but at the same time, it's still a pipe that does need replacing. But we obviously do have other issues there too.
What are you hearing on the doors, Joe? What are the top issues that are coming on the doors? And there are a number of questions coming into the comments here, which I want to get to as well, because some of them they're bang on. In fact, they supersede some of my own questions. Thanks, guys. Keep them coming. What are you hearing on the doors? What are the big issues
look, to be honest, I was actually over in Salbridge here. I raced over if my hair is still a bit damp. If it looks a bit damp, it's not because it's any gel or because I washed it before I came on. No, I was racing over from Salbridge. I only left Salbridge at 7:30. So I suppose, look, there's a myriad of issues, but the main issue is, and what we just talked about, it's infrastructure, it's schools, it's the care, it's the disability service in the schools for the children of the increased population. It's people concerned, will they get a place? Were they on a list for Salesians and Wilsons that might have come out last week? You know, is there going to be a place for the 8-year-olds? They're parents of an 8, 7, 6-year-old. They're concerned about secondary schools. Those issues are, and obviously it's interesting. I'll say, Tressa, if I was to go through other towns, there can be micro issues, there can be individual issues that happen in major towns, but then obviously Castletown House would be the other key one. I would say Leixlip and Selbridge, Castletown House comes up consistently in both. Dereliction down the village in Leixlip comes up quite a lot, and that's obviously a key issue that I'm focusing on, that I'm working on. So dereliction in Leixlip village, Castletown House were the two big issues in local elections. Kind of hasn't changed. They're the local. When I say they're not the micro local on the estate. And obviously micro local, you might get something where a dangerous road or a bend, you know, a hazard that happens. And then in Maynooth, you know, very similar issues coming up with traffic and schools in Maynooth. And then Kilcock, public transport is massive, and obviously school spaces and community facilities.
Okay, so you're not coming up with any surprises, really, I suppose.
No, but then and I would say this on a national level, you know, you might get other issues coming up, but they're all, a lot of them are quite linked to population increases. You know, and all I mean is the services that are coming with it, and then the other issues.
Well, I'm hearing a lot from parents, and I'm a parent myself, Joe, as you know, as I know you are. I saw anecdotally during the week another contribution within the group, a parent who I think had applied to multiple schools, had a preference with genuine rationale for a particular secondary school, hadn't got a clue what was going to happen in terms of allocations. There isn't enough schools that are non-denominational, for example. Parents don't have choice, you know, within the area. The whole school's allocation process is just absolutely chaotic. And I peel it back another layer. The situation with applying for primary schools is a primary school, you know, 500 yards from where I live, and I'm hoping to enroll my son next year. But I have no idea when I go through with the application in January whether or not I need to subject myself to a lottery and apply in multiple schools. There's got to be a better way to treat parents with this logistical challenge they have. I mean, it's not parents' fault, as it were, that there's a you know, population explosion. And I appreciate that sounds like a contradiction in terms. Of course, it's parents' fault for having children, but you know what I'm saying. Nothing is being made easy for parents around children. And I want to just finish by bringing in a point that's been made by Esni Fionnagan, a vocal person online. And this person, I think it's a lady, says, how are you going to make things better for children and young people in North Kildare? Recreation, schools, assessment of needs, and support for parents. And I just want to commend that contributor for the questions, because assessment of needs, if there's anything unusual about the needs that your child might have, you're screwed, Joe. You're absolutely screwed. It is chaotic. It is brutal. It is so unfair. And you have to fight every step of the way. And I am fighting every step of the way myself at the moment for my son. And I just think, where's an advocate for me as a parent? So coming to you on the question, how are you going to make things better for children and for families who are looking after children in North Kildare? What would you do to address it?
Okay, right. Once again, there's a couple of pieces to that question. First of all, and I do want to come to one thing, and then can you just hold that last question?
Yes, yeah. Appreciate that. Yeah, go for it.
Because I do want to deal with something else that you were just saying earlier in that piece. Because I've seen massive changes in the school application process. I'll deal with school application, then I'll come back to the assessment of needs, because they're two very separate issues, but they're two really key issues. So I wouldn't want to forget one without the other. So the first one, the application process in schools, right? Because I've been on, a lot of people, your listeners might know Confy College. I went to Coláiste Kieran myself, but I'm on the board of Confy College. Confy College is obviously a very popular school in Leixlip, and we've seen an explosion in application numbers. So I've been on the board for 10 years, and the application numbers have trebled in that time. And what has happened, I believe, and what I can see from chat, and I know from talking, is that I think, like, we had 10 years ago, less than 10 years ago, we would have had 150 applicants for 150 places. We'd now have 450 applicants for 150 places. That's the way it's gone, because and I know those numbers for a fact. I'm not just making those up. So obviously, to me, there's probably two things going on. First of all, there's the increase in population in general area. there's more demand, but also probably what it's speaking to is that sense of, well, I don't want to say panic, but at the same time that sense of nervousness of parents, and they're probably applying to multiple schools. You know,
It
they're
is,
applying.
it's panic in my house.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to use the word
I'm
panic,
not,
but I didn't want to be
no,
too.
no, it's okay to
Yeah,
use the word that is genuine. It is
yeah,
panic.
yeah. Fine. I didn't want to be inflammatory, but but you know, and my said that's not my it's not my job to be the inflammatory. But at the same time, but I know it's panic. It's panic in households, to be honest, right? So what people then are applying to multiple skills, and this kind of system is almost eaten itself, you
Mhm.
know, in the application process, and that's causing even more concern. So obviously there needs to be something where there's some level of comfort, and I'm actually not sure what that answer is, whether because you don't want to ensure that people can only apply to a certain schools in their location, you know, because you don't want to be restrictive. But definitely there has to be some meeting of minds in some way, that we have some sort of application process that allows people, or doesn't, that means the parents don't have to apply to so many different schools, and we're hundreds of people applying for spaces that they might be applying to 7 or 8 schools, because almost that's the way it's gone in North Kildare, and I have a real sympathy for the parents for that. And I do think we have to come up with a central way of doing it, or a central way of looking at it, or even the schools talking and discussing, you know, or ranking, whatever system that can be. But at the moment, it's just not tenable to continue to go on, because people are then obviously not are concerned that they're not going to get the school they want, you know, and they might well end up getting the place that they want, but at the same time, there's a risk that they won't get it
There
either.
is a risk that they won't, and you might have one child accepted to one school, and then you're not guaranteed the same place.
Oh, sure. I was talking to a parent in Minute. I was talking to a parent in lady in Minute in Carton. Only in Carton Wood. Only last week she was telling, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, she was telling me like that she's a child in first class. She had another child in third class in the school, in the Irish school there, and she couldn't get her child into primary into junior infants. You know, now they have to go to a different school. You know, and that boggles the mind. Like
Mhm.
for generations of us who wouldn't have, it wouldn't have crossed our minds that we wouldn't go to the same school that are
Do you
that
lay
are
that? Do you lay that at Fianna Fáil's feet? Because Nora Foley is the Minister for Education. She's
no,
Fianna Fáil, and she
no, I
what
wouldn't look.
happened to allow this to arise? I mean, people are really, really.
No, I was, and this I would blame the Department of Education. I would say is that North Kildare hasn't had the delivery of facilities, the ability there of key facilities and key infrastructure, and I include schools, and that's kind of, so you can call it physical. It's physical, but it's also social, and that has caused those pressures. And it's been too slow in building. Like, we can zone land, the councillors zone land, and that's what we do. You know, as part of a local area plan, and you put down your housing, everybody knows it's coming, but then the schools don't necessarily come after. And look, I would account for demographic shifts. I do see demographic shifts. I saw a time where Kalash de Kiran, when I was a teenager, was bulging. I saw Confi was bulging at the time with numbers. But then obviously all those teenagers go away, and teenagers move off somewhere else, and all of a sudden there's empty classrooms. And I'm not saying full of empty class. It can happen. You're going to get that.
Well,
But at the
that to
same
me,
time,
you know,
no,
that
I'm just
sounds
let me finish, because
that sounds like a
I don't
government
want to.
problem. What's
I
striking
know
me?
I don't want to leave it on that point, but what I want to say is that's never going to be the issue again for the likes of a Maynooth, the likes of a Selbridge. That's why I was coming to that point. Is like Leaks was kind of had stopped growing, and obviously knew it stopped. Whereas Maynooth are talking about population going from 20,000 to 50,000 in the future plan. That's the plan. That's the spatial planning in the long term. So we know that's coming. So Maynooth's going to need more schools no matter what happens. Selbridge, you know, similar to a degree, we're going to have more development behind Hazel Hatch when the bridge gets built, you know, so we're going to need more schools there. So we know that. So that, and I know we touched on earlier about the council, and I went through the deficiencies in the council, and, you know, and what they might need, and what we're kind of on the cusp of changing. But at the same time, I do think we need a government voice in North Kildare, in North, and I suppose Northeast Kildare, really focusing on Northeast Kildare and pushing that agenda. And it's not even an agenda; it's pushing the reality of the population, but where it's probably gone. And I know the population of Kildare was about 100,000, was 100,000 25 years ago. It's now 246,000. I
Yeah.
would say that the North Kildare population has even grown way more extensively than the South. So you can probably take, we've gone from about 60,000 to probably 160,000, almost trebled in that time. But have the school numbers trebled? No. And I don't want to be, and I know someone might listen and kind of go, well, what are you doing about it? I want to do something about it. I've done it at a council level, and I have really made improvements. I would say, you know, in my area, I've worked in my area. You've seen it yourself, to a degree, in the work that I've done in Salbridge. Have I done everything that I want, that I would like to do? No, but at the same time, have I delivered quite a lot? Absolutely. But I would say is that sort of a voice is needed for Northeast, because I don't think I've heard it to the degree, and I definitely haven't seen the investment coming in behind it that we required and that we needed.
Well, look, you're certainly abreast of the problems, and with a young family yourself, I know that you're going to have
Oh
experience.
look, and yeah, and I would
I
say I coach teams, and the teams that I coach are in fifth class and first year. I know they're the first years and the second years and the fifth classes. So the different teams. I
Can I
talk to
just
all the
give you?
parents. I know them.
Go ahead. It's okay. Okay. I'm going to just fly down. There are a huge amount of comments have come in, and we're not going to be able to get to all of them in detail. But I just
Just
want to
only
give you.
read out the nice ones.
Yeah, they're all fairly decent. It's
Oh,
I just want to give you a flavour of what's there. We have the question there. The parent looking for a focus, the government to focus on children for once, and I really couldn't agree more. And not just because I have campaigned with the Federation of Childhood Providers, because I'm
sorry,
also.
we didn't touch back on the services point, and I didn't want to be seen to ignore that either. Sorry,
No,
just
I'll
when we
bring you
do
back
come
in
back.
on it in a
Sorry,
moment.
because that's
We'll
a
come
key
back.
issue.
It
Yeah.
is a key issue, and we will come back to it. Another person says, Susie Miller says, hi, she says, hi, Susie. Um, will KCC now say, oh, look, we've got you down at Comper in the parochial house, so the figures will look good on paper for North Kildare. However, there's so much more that we need: bridges, playground, ring roads, traffic alleviation. I suppose what I'd say to you on that one, Joe, is just watch that Donnacumper isn't leaned on as a look, there we go now. We've bought you that. Firstly, we didn't, not that it's not fantastic, it is, but we didn't ask for Donnacumper. We've been asking for right now solutions. You know what I mean? Not
Okay,
10,
right.
10,
But
15
I will
years.
say, see, Tressa. Okay, the reason why the Donnacumper land is so key for
Mm,
salvage, and
hmm
I think this has been almost understated, is that it's the first time that Kildare County Council own any sort of parklands that's going to be open to them to do whatever they want with.
mm.
The biggest difficulty we've had, and I've been on the youth facilities committee in Salbridge, in Salbridge actually, it's more of a Salbridge youth and teen facilities. Our biggest issue has been having a site to put facilities on because we don't own one. Because Kildare County Council never had lands, and look, obviously this is an issue I'm talking about. This issue goes back even 100 years, going back to because they just didn't have those public lands when the land was private, it was sold,
The,
and there
the,
was
the,
never any
the, the
space.
the issue, I take your point. I know where you're going. I take your point. The issue I have, and I'm just reflecting what the commenter has said, is that would be fantastic for my grandchildren or great grandchildren, maybe. At the rate Kildare County Council is going, I worry that this will be used as the excuse is the wrong word, because I'm enormously thrilled that Donnacumper was bought. I cherish it. We all will in time, especially when we get to use it. But it's just, I worry that it's another bridge, that this is just the first step in a 20-year fight for something to become a reality. And I suppose it's not for response really, but I'm sensing a lot of that. Just people
No,
kind of
yeah,
tired,
I
because
don't want to tell.
there isn't that track record to really rely on. So much, is begged for Celbridge and Leixlip for so many years. And not to take away from the excellent things that Celbridge and Leixlip has and has developed, particularly the strength of its communities. I'll keep going with a few of these comments. Vinny, how are you, Vin? Joe, can you tell the people of North Kildare what are your top 5 priorities over the next term of government? You might do that in your wrap up, Joe, if you can. I'm
Hmm.
sure you'll be hitting your top notes. Sharon contributes the 4 SNAs in Celbridge Community School for the whole school. It's not working. 3 special, and she is, I presume, a mum of 3 special needs children here, and I'm an unpaid carer, she says. And there's only 4 SNAs in Celbridge Community School. Another person says, sorry, it's flicking around on me. One solution, now this is in relation to schools and the chaos with school places. One solution is to bring back the sibling rule, which makes a lot of sense to me. Thanks very much, Catherine Temple. Sharon says, in relation to Norma Foley, I presume, the Minister for Phone Pouches. Another comment, another solution is not to allow any more housing developments until KCC catch up with the facilities and amenities in North Kildare, and that has attracted quite a bit of support in the comments. And another commenter about Gael Colosseum on Nuid, still waiting to move to a permanent location. It's the only secondary school Os Gaeilge in North Kildare, and indeed, Celbridge is still waiting on the 3 schools delivery for St. Raphael's, St. Patrick's, and Celbridge Community College. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Waiting to go in there. So look, just I'm feeling during this whole election campaign an air of frustration with things, and I kind of conveyed that in the interview with Bernard Durkin this morning. People are just tired of waiting. So I suppose we want to get in. We want somebody in there who is across all the problems, which you absolutely are. But I suppose we need to put somebody in there with teeth and somebody who's going to really fight and be effective. So the electorate will be judging if you're our man for that, Joe. But I certainly know you've got the facts and figures off the top of your head. So that's just a
And
little.
you've probably seen some of the teeth as well and some of the meetings we've been at
Yes,
too. So
I
I'm
have.
not shy.
I have seen you at your very finest, Joe. I won't take it away from you. I would not want to be on the receiving end when you've got a point to make. So there's absolutely no doubt about that. We're running short on time, and there's so much else that I could get through, but I just want to talk briefly about Castletown
Yeah.
because I suppose from my point of view and from a lot of people's point of view, there's a general election right in the middle of a public crisis. So we have one shot at this. I know you haven't yet because you've been campaigning all day today. You've been on the doors in Selbridge. You wouldn't have caught the interview with Bernard Durkin this morning, but I did go to some lengths to go through the facts on one particular area of the Castletown debacle, and that is the right of way along the riverside. I don't know if you recall, you might have received an email
Yeah.
from the Save Castletown Committee on this last week. I was able to kind of rattle off a set of facts, just irrefutable evidence there about that right of way. And that is in contrast with what OPW put out about there never having been a road there. The situation is that there is a right of way along the north bank of the Liffey River, right through Castletown. OPW deny it exists, and that's what gives them the excuse to lock the gates and to curtail the public access hours. It's absolutely unbelievable and a source of increasing frustration. And I'm trying not to swear.
No,
That just can I just because I'm falling over my words because I'm trying not to say things that I don't want to say on a live broadcast. It would be disrespectful to people watching and listening. But Joe, for Christ's sakes, who is in charge of the OPW? Can they not just get real? This is misinformation. This is gaslighting by our state. And the various candidates and Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil and the Green Party in time are asking for us to trust them. I know that there are deficiencies, they will say. This is the theme, but trust us, we're going to provide stability, we're a stable government, and we're going to keep the recovery going. Why should we trust the government when OPW are allowed to screw us like that?
okay, well, look, I suppose you know my own view in Castletown. Well, look,
Yeah,
I come to my own view in Castle. You do know my own view in
I
Castletown. We've
do.
talked about it many times, right? Just for your listeners, I suppose I grew up in Leaks, but Castletown House actually wasn't as open as it was until it became 2007. But at the same time, once it did, it was a place I always went. In 2010, I got married in church in Leaks, and I went across Castletown House for my photographs. That's where my wedding photographs are taken with Castletown House in the backdrop. I got married since, and that's where our kids, that's where we went them, that went with them. That's where our walks went, where we went with our walks down with the river. That's where I stood on, do you know, the little footbridge, on the far side. I used to always do Billy Goat Scruff with the kids, I to do the story with them. The point is, I love that place. You know, that's where I have the memories. And going down the back of it now and seeing the tower and the pike, the pikes and the gates that we're not able to walk down, I can't walk down. You know, it's awful. You know, it's shocking that it came to that. You know, it should never, never, never have come to that. And that has been a disaster for our area. You know, to lose the parklands, you know, it's a national disgrace. You know, to lose the access to the parklands because ultimately and I know different people go in the front, the Lime Avenue, and obviously that's fine. But for a lot of people in Leixlip and Maynooth and Lucan who would have access to it, not to mind the national visitors, that M4 was the way in. Now they don't go in. You know, so that's crazy that was allowed to happen and it shouldn't have happened. I suppose where we are now, who runs the OPW? We know to your point, to your specific point, with the OPW, in fairness, have caused a lot of the issues there with the locality, and we know it. And I'm not afraid to say, you know, I've said it to them at some of
Yep.
those meetings. I was probably the most direct one saying it to them about the OPW somehow became the story here, and they
Mhm,
shouldn't have been the story
mhm.
because the OPW were looking to put a car park in the front. Why? Shouldn't have been there. Shouldn't have come up. What was the issue? Why were they even considering doing something like that?
That's
But the
right.
point is,
They shouldn't have planned it behind our
but the
backs.
point is, what they've tried to do is have it almost like a top down that it's their park. That it's theirs. It's not. It's ours. We're the ones who live. Like I'll be there when the OPW, different people can come and go, but we'll be there. You'll be there. You'll be there in 40, 50 years potentially with your grandchildren, as I would like to be. And so it's us who need to, who not. I would say we. individually we know what's best, but at the same time we knew a car park wasn't going to happen, wasn't going to be a runner. So I'm not sure. I'm not that I'm not sure. I do know who's running the OPW, but I don't understand the logic behind their approach with with Castletown House. And I do think
Neither
they've
do
been
I. Now,
founded on
I haven't
concept.
asked for you. I haven't asked for you because I think we're on the same page broadly
No, we are. As I said, we
with
both know
Castletown,
where
and
we've landed.
I always enjoy talking about Castletown with people who love it as much as I do, because there are so many of us Castletonians,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
around the place. Not just in Savage and Leixlip, but obviously it's a national and an international monument to
And
that
I think a lot
heritage.
of Desmond McGuinness, like Desmond McGuinness, who I knew in Leaks, bought it, and gave it to the state. An unbelievable thing. And I think, we should always think of, from that. And I just see what to give it back to the state and for the state to have it. And then, to
And
have
then lock
access
people
to
and
it
then
and be
lock
so,
people out of it, Joe.
yeah,
Then lock people out.
instead
It makes absolutely no sense. And it feels, as I said to Bernard, it feels today as it felt on was it the 13th of September last year, like a punishment for the public protest, undeserved and still sore. What I'm asking, Joe, is that if I present you with a brief listing out all of the evidence, I won't go through the big list. I did it this morning. Anybody who didn't catch Bernard's interview, have a look. Um, I'll present you with that. Will you confer with your Fine Gael colleagues on Kildare County Council whether or not you're elected, to let them know that there's an accusation of misinformation, if you want to put it that way. But I believe that the OPW have misinformed the public and are standing over that misinformation as a convenience. And it is extremely, extremely distressing. And we're really not going to solve Castletown until we all get real on facts. And I don't think that the information they put out should be allowed to stay on the public record. Um, so I have a big problem with that. And what I'm asking is that if I give you the citations, give you the research, so that you can verify that those facts are correct, will you confer with your Fine Gael colleagues on the council and let them know that we need to put a little bit of manners on that statement about the Riverside right of way? Would that be so, without
absolutely, geez, that
hanging
goes without
yourself on
saying. Yeah,
something
that
if
goes,
you're
no,
not
look,
confident?
trust
But
me, me, that goes without saying.
thank you.
And I would say as well, like if elected to the Dáil, that's why it's the importance of having someone who is so tied in with it. And it's not just an emotional thing, but it's obviously a logical thing as well. And to have that connection, I obviously have the personal connection you have, and that's why it's one of those things where having that local mindset and I suppose that local caring at a national level banging the table about it, that's
Mhm.
why it is required. And
I
that's how
just,
you
I
do
just,
so.
we just need somebody to light a fire and make sure that that fire is lit in Kildare County Council and in the Dáil Chamber, because there will be issues and elements coming up for KCC, and it's extremely important that the public voice has made its way right up through our system, to make sure that the executive of KCC have heard it. Look, I could go on and on about Castletown, and I know you could as well, Joe, because as I say, it's a matter close to both our hearts. But we are gone long on time, as I knew we would.
But I
uh,
just say as well, I wasn't canvassing.
yeah.
We also had the budget today. Kildare County Council
Oh,
had their budget today, so here's part of it.
fabulous.
So so
Drop
that
me drop me over a copy there, Joe, will you? Because it's not going to hit the website for a couple of days.
no, it's the draft one is up.
Oh,
And
is it up?
the draft one is the final one, so it's up. I'll be on KFM in the morning discussing it as
Oh,
well.
good man, good man. Well, then I'll
9:30
download
with
that.
Owen
That's my
Beatty.
bedtime reading for me. Yeah. Look, I'd like to give you an opportunity to close us. To, I suppose, give a parting word to people, and to ask them for your votes. I know you're running with Bernard and Evie, so Fine Gael are running three candidates. But from your point of view, if you'd like to give us that elevator pitch or just say goodnight, whatever you'd like, and I'll close us off.
First of all, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to do this. It's very good. It's actually, it's always nice to chat, and I love it. To be honest, a bit nervous before, but you never know what you're going to talk about for 45 minutes. But it's been great fun. And then obviously, look, just thank the listeners for tuning in and for the comments and contributions. And like that, that's why I love canvassing. I love calling around. Don't get me wrong, every different house can have a different response, but at the same time, the thing is, everybody cares. And they really should. And like, I was in with a couple tonight. I wonder if they're listening with their two kids, and their concern tonight was about will they get into the schools, and will they be able to get the kids into the secondary schools. And the daughter was 10 and the son was 6. And then also we were talking about the local sports, the need for teen facilities when the kids get older. And the father was from Mullingar, I remember, and the mother was from Mayo. And it's just these people who've come to Salbridge, made it their livelihood, and they're seeing the lack of services that they believe that their kids should have. So I suppose the issues that are coming at the doors are so common, but at the same time, what comes across is that people really care and they want someone who represents them and represents their, I suppose, the similar views that they might have. So look, that's the that's that part of it. But I suppose if I was to talk about myself and which I don't like doing actually, I think it's in Irish where we don't like selling ourselves too easily, but at the
You're
same
you're in
time.
you're in the wrong game for the next
I
10 days
know,
or
yeah,
so, Joe.
I know. I'm not going to be shy now all of a sudden. But look, I would like everyone to vote for me in the upcoming election who are listening, because I do believe that North Kildare needs a stronger voice in government. I am going for a government for a party who's in government now, possibly will be in government after. I'm obviously local. I'm from Leaks. I've been a councillor for Salbridge as well for the last 10 years. And I remember you kindly wrote about a year or two ago that you're actually quite surprised how much I knew about Salbridge issues when you went to one of our council meetings, because I've been a hard working councillor for Salbridge. I've been able to put up my posters there, but at the same time I've worked hard for the area, and I've done my best. So look, as I said, a family person, a chartered accountant who have a business in Maynooth Business Campus. I know the difficulties for the areas. Said we've gone through the community side, but I would say, with the family in mind, with the community work that I've done, I'm director of the Amenity Centre, director of Youth and Community Centre. I suppose I've given my best to give it back to the local side, from a local community side, and I do want the opportunity to deliver for North Kildare as well. I think the country is in a good shape from an employment perspective, financially relatively secure. We know that compared to national, and I would say stable. When you look at the US, you see what the issues that they have there, the UK, the issues that they've had there, and France even, the difficulties getting across the budget. Whereas we have money, but what we really need to do now is to channel it back in and give it back to the people. And I don't mean just financially to them, but also give it back to the key infrastructure, the services. And I know we didn't get to come back to it, but the service somebody was referencing, I wanted to talk about as well, the needs for our children with suffering from with special needs and disabilities in the schools, the inability to get diagnosed, the inability to get the supports behind them, and the inability to get the extra SNAs that they require. And I think that's really, really important. And as someone, my wife is a primary school teacher, and I hear of these every day. And I do think it's really important. And our difficulty in North Kildare is that population has grown so extensively that we haven't been able to deliver the facilities that we needed, but also the services that were behind it. And I want to be that voice in North Kildare for, I won't say the new generation, because it's obviously for everyone, but at the same time, in a changing area that I've seen change to a degree, but I know that change is happening elsewhere across the north of the county, and I know and I feel I know what's needed, and I want to be able to do my best for the people of North Kildare if elected on the 29th of November.
Well, very well said, and a credit to you that you returned to that subject, Joe, of the additional needs. There are those comments are there for you to read at your leisure. They'll be in under the video that I've
Try
put
not
in
to
from
look at
people. So
comments.
yeah, if you want to if you want to jump in and answer anybody there, you're welcome. And I'll take over. I can copy and paste that. Joe said blah. You know what I mean? If I know you're having an extremely busy
I know,
week.
yeah.
Um, Thank you for a very frank, open and honest conversation. Thank you for your commitment of support on the Castletown subject. I know it's an extension of what you've been doing already, but on this particular point, I just think we need to just crack that nut and get it over with. And to everybody watching at home, thank you very much for joining us. I love that so many questions and comments came in, so thanks for that, everyone. And look, I'll see you again tomorrow morning for the next interview. But for this evening, it has been Joe Neville of Fine Gael, who's looking for your
And I'd
number
be
one
happy to do
vote.
it again, Tristan.
Wonderful. We have to squeeze in another one. So
Yeah.
thanks a million, Joe, and thanks everybody. And Iho, good night.
Thank you. Ihawa, Slán.
Slán.